All America, all the time. Sit down, buckle up, and get ready for the Dan Bongino Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2028 race for president is on. Dan, stop it. Stop the insanity, please. No, I can't because I don't control the insanity, okay? I just report on it, okay? It is on, though. So we got a lot on that today. We haven't even reached the midterms yet. But as the media cycle has shortened, this is one of the great ironies of politics. And you guys, come on, you all know it's true. Folks in the chat, chime in. As the media cycle is shortened, stories now are 5, 6, 7 hours long. Boom, they're out of the news. Stories that would have been like 2-3 weeks in advance back 20, 30 years ago. You know, like, think about it. When we hit the nuclear reactor in Iran, that's probably like a year-long story in the 1970s or 80s. Was a story for about a week. It was a hugely consequential geopolitical story, and now it seems like it was 100 years ago. As the media cycle is shortened, the presidential election cycle has lengthened. It went from, 8 months out to a year and a half out to 2 years to now we're out to like 3 years out. You're already seeing things like that. We got to that, but I got a ton to get to. That's a small portion of today's show. Big announcement for tomorrow. Happy, elated actually, to have as a guest FBI Director Kash Patel. So we'll get into all the good stuff. We love having him on as a guest. I'm on the other side now, obviously, so somewhat careful what we talk about, but good man. So I'm really happy to have him on tomorrow. So don't miss that. Today, we've got John Solomon coming on later, who has some just really, really informative updates on that Fulton County, Georgia election case that I promise it'll make sense when I told you, just because you don't see things happening doesn't mean they're not happening. Now you'll see what was happening and you'll understand a little better why I think election officials in Fulton County, Georgia are in a world of trouble. So that's coming up at about 11:30, about an hour and a half from now if you're listening or watching on demand. I've got a ton to get to, including just Elon on this AI thing, and I think he's 100% correct. A lot to get to. Today's show brought to you by our friends at My Patriot Supply. With everyone focused on the halftime show, one of the largest U.S. military buildups was happening in decades, and it's quietly happening in the Middle East. Well, not so quietly anymore. Folks, listen, global turmoil and the threat of grid attacks, the threat of wars breaking out, are prescient. These are really, really troubling times. Now, you don't need to, panic. You don't need to freak out about anything, but you got to be prepared. The way to reduce your anxiety is preparedness. That's right. An entire battle carrier group and 110 C-17 transport planes pulled up to Iran's doorstep. It's a tense situation, could escalate at any moment. I'm not saying we're going to war with anyone. What I'm saying is we're all distracted by this nonsense. But with this, there's serious stuff happening that could directly affect you and your family, real threats you need to be prepared for. That's why I use My Patriot Supply. I have for a long time. Be prepared. Always be prepared. You don't want someone knocking on your door like, hey, you got some emergency food? You can get the emergency food yourself. Why are you relying on your neighbors? The best day of your life is when you don't need it. The worst day of your life is when you do need it and you don't have it. Head over to preparewithdan.com right now. Preparewithdan.com right now. Our friends at My Patriot Supply have set up a complete preparedness package just for you. You get everything in a bundle. You can't beat it. They've done all the lifting for you. It has backup power, survival food, water filtration, and more, all in one bundle with over $800 in free gear. They're calling it the Mount Rushmore preparedness, and it won't be around long. So go to preparewithdan.com right away. That's preparewithdan.com, preparewithdan.com. Get this stuff. You need it. You need to be prepared. What happens if they were, to hit the grid and you're out of power for 30 days? What are you going to do? Preparewithdan.com. All right, Guy, let's go. All right, so 2028 is on, but I wanted to get to this first, just quickly. This AI revolution, talking about preparedness and all this other stuff. Folks, I'm very concerned about one big chunk of AI that I think could cause us a lot of problems in the future, and that's the development of bioweapons. Once onto the open internet. It starts to spill out there. Combinations of various chemicals, viral manipulations that can create super viruses. Now, look, we haven't been through this before with the whole COVID pandemic. I am very concerned that AI, if it were to get a hold of basic components of this, could create one of these things on its own if it sees itself in an existential crisis. It's not just me saying it. I am by no means an AI tech expert. It's actual AI creators out there who are putting their own financial future on the line by telling you, hey, we're a little concerned about our own product. I don't want to instill panic in anybody. I'm just telling you these concerns are very real. You have a lot of hostile foreign actors, too, who are very eager to use AI to develop advanced level biological weapons that we don't have any easy counter for right now. The only possible solution is to get AI to develop potential antidotes and vaccines for these things. And who knows if anybody's even going to trust that. This AI future has the potential for explosive economic growth, but the downsides could be very real. There's also the potential for massive economic dislocation here. However, don't use any of this as an excuse to fall into the Bernie Sanders AOC universal basic income trap. We don't know what's going to happen with AI and jobs because it hasn't really shown in the jobs numbers yet. The jobs numbers under President Trump are up despite the implementation of AI. However, what Elon's saying in this clip right here, I don't think is inaccurate. Here is Elon Musk talking about the difference between physical jobs that require a hands-on tactile touch, right? And digital jobs where you're touching a keyboard, maybe software developing or things like that. This is really important. Check this out.
It is really still digital. Ultimately, AI can improve the productivity of humans who build things with their hands or do things with their hands, like literally welding, electrical work, plumbing, anything that's physically moving atoms, like cooking food or farming or like anything that's physical. Those jobs will exist for a much longer time. But anything that is digital, which is like just someone at a computer doing something, AI is going to take over those jobs like lightning.
Yeah, I think with that, he's absolutely correct. And that's definitely something we need to be concerned about. I saw this tweet, too, on an account called Raw Alerts, and this was fascinating. It says Meta is developing some kind of AI program where you can continue to post is patented an AI that can keep a deceased person account active and running, posting, messaging, and video calling by replicating and using their behavior from past data. I don't know if that's true or not, what their plans are for any of these social companies, but I noticed there was this big uproar on on social media, like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I'm going to tell you, all right, unpopular opinion, flame me in the chat if you need to. I'm open. Do your thing, chatsters. I'm looking now. Get ready. Okay, I'm giving you a second. I don't think this is the worst thing in the world. I know it. I'm going to take an ass kicking on this. It's okay. I'm going to tell you the truth. If you don't want to do it, there's going to be an opt-out. They're not going to be able to steal your image and likeness. However, if you're some content creator or musician or an artist who creates digital pieces or something or whatever it may be, and you want to take care of your family, what better life insurance plan than to be able to continue to turn over your property, your social media pages to them and allow the AI to integrate and create some product and generate some income for your family? I don't know. Maybe it's hard for me to be objective because I have a social media presence on this. But I don't think it's worse. Just opt out if you don't like it. All right. Enough on that. I always pack in a ton here. By the way, if you have an iPhone, very critical public service announcement from the DB show. Update your iOS. Major update from Apple. They had some kind of spyware infiltration, some major attack. Make sure you update your phone. I did it this morning. Haven't seen from the other side the threats. It's a big deal. You can look it up. But there was some Apple spyware update. Some of the stuff they can do out there with this new technology is absolutely incredible. Make sure you update it. Okay. Moving on to something you may have seen in the news last night, another tragic story. I'll address this again with John Solomon later. Folks, it appears to be another act of trans violence. Yesterday, you saw the story in the news with this homicide investigation. Folks, when we were over at the Bureau over the last year, we were not letting this go. As I told you before, you see with just the news right here, father who shot 5 at Rhode Island ice rink, which transgender authorities say. Ladies and gentlemen, this is obviously getting to be a not only deadly problem, but a very deadly problem that is repeating itself. There is a pattern here, okay? You know for a fact, if this was some devout conservative or MAGA hat wearing guy shooting up a rink and this was happening over and over and Democrats were in charge, you'd all be in jail tomorrow. This is a pattern. When you see a pattern, you look for traits in the pattern. Is it hormonal manipulation? Is it some kind of psychological issue embedded that we're missing that leads to these outbreaks of violence in some of these cases? That when we were over there, we had them look at this through an analytical product. This is happening over and over and over again. And we better damn well get an explanation for it and get a hold of this, because this is not the first, second, or third time this has happened. As more information develops on that, I'll be sure to get it out on this show and my social media platforms as well. However, getting to what I wanted to discuss in the beginning of the show today. Folks, the race for 2028 is already on. And it matters. You know, I get it. I understand. This is another one of those chat moments where you always hesitate to discuss this stuff because it makes it appear like you're driving the news cycle. The news cycle drives the show. That's what we discuss, what's in the news. You're seeing now candidates earlier and earlier start to enter into the race. And what you're seeing now is a gravitational pull of party elders in each direction trying to pull parties. But you're seeing it now. I'll give you an example. Obama and Hillary Clinton, in a clip I'll get to later, trying to pull the Democrat Party back towards closer to the center on the immigration issue because they know it's a total loser to be on the side of open borders. And then you're seeing AOC go totally crazy overseas. You're going to see this battle play out now. From this point on, it's going to be in the news every single day. You're also going to see it on the right. Some people are staking out claims. Some people are staking out other claims. Some people want to be the traditional old school conservative. Some people more the establishment type. Some people on the MAGA brand. Some people are going to run on the libertarian brand. You're going to see that. And I'm going to be able to explain that to you on our side as well as we go forward. But the Democrats are clearly in the counter-irritation mode right now. What's the counter-irritation mode? I described it yesterday. You know those like Bengay and those other pain analgesics, you put them on your arthritis and you're like, I feel better. Well, some of them, the way they work is counter-irritation. You get a pain in your elbow, you put on this capsaicin type cream and it's like a hot type compound and it distracts you a bit and your nervous system from the pain, right? That's the Democrats' principle of politics right now. They know everything they've run on in the last decade has been absolute shit. They know it. The open borders, Obama's disastrous pullout from Afghanistan, the DEI initiatives, the Latinx crap, all of the stuff they've defunded the police, Obamacare, which sucks so bad. It now needs more taxpayer money, even though it was supposed to be cheaper and they're willing to shut down the government on. Think about this. Every single thing the Democrats have run on, tell me one single thing. Folks in the chat, tell me one single thing the Democrats have run on. A serious substantive policy issue where the Democrats turned out over time to be right. Defund the police, freaking disaster. Obamacare, freaking disaster. The economy under Democrats, freaking disaster. And anything? The culture wars, disaster. DEI policy, disaster. Everything they've done is a disaster. Medicaid, going bankrupt. Medicare, going bankrupt. Social Security, going bankrupt. We've got to clean this entire mess up for these people. They can't run on everything. They cause you the pain, so they need the counter-irritation. They have to start another distraction to get you away from thinking about everything they do that sucks all the time. Weaponizing government, disaster. You see this in action here. Did you see this clip with Eric Trump and this clown interviewer? What is this, Daily Mail or something like that? Telegraph? This interviewer, Eric Trump, agrees to go on and do an interview with this guy. And unbelievably, after a decade plus of the Democrats, the libs, and hack goon Republicans who hated Donald Trump, weaponizing the government, whether it was through Arctic Frost, Mar-a-Lago, the raid at Mar-a-Lago, whether it was through the civil trials up in New York, Letitia James, whether it was from Twinkies up in New York, The list goes on and on. Crossfire Hurricane, all of these various operations, weaponized government to take out Donald Trump. This guy, this interviewer, has the balls to tell Eric Trump, like, hey, man, I think you guys may have been making a big deal out of this. It just seems like standard politics. Standard politics? They raided a former president's freaking house, you clown. And thank God Eric Trump kicked right back on this. This is what I'm talking about by counter-irritation. And then blame the Republicans and make it out like they're the ones weaponizing government. Check this out.
I take that point. My point is that some of the siege that you faced, and I understand why it was very personal and distressing, but can you accept that some of it was just people legitimately disagreeing with your father's policies and using every lever available, as people generally do in politics, in order to push back?
No. Hold on one second. I mean, there are politics, and there is peaceful discourse, right? Over the fact that two people might disagree on abortion. People might disagree on gun rights. People might disagree on the limitations of freedom of speech, right? People can have these disagreements on either side, and they can do so, and they can debate certain things, and whoever wins that debate, and the populace ultimately wins. That's different than raiding somebody's house. That's different than subpoenaing their children with the intent to literally try and bankrupt a company. That's different than calling every financial institution and telling them to debank a person. That's different than making up dirty dossiers where saying that there are golden you-know-whats happening with prostitution when it was totally fabricated and paid by the opposition. That's criminal type behavior. That's not democracy. That's not the debate of ideas where people can have different perspective.
Folks, one of the goals of this show, and we've been doing it a long time, about 10 years, a little over 10 years now, has always been to take a whole bunch of information and distill it down into digestible bits so it's easy to understand. The counter-irritation principle, once you notice it, you can never unnotice it. You can't unsee it. They do this all the time. They cause you pain on whatever it may be, DEI, Obamacare, and then they go and blame the other party for the problem they caused, causing a distraction from the irritation they caused. This media guy is clearly playing into that by downplaying the vicious attacks against Donald Trump. We all know that are a matter of freaking historical record. They're not a matter of opinion. And he makes it out like, oh, you guys are just whining and moaning. Yet, during at least my tenure there at the FBI, when we went and built cases that were indictable and prosecutable later, when we built cases against Comey, Letitia James, Bolton, I had to write them down because if sometimes they don't come to mind right away. We had a lot of them. Gavin Newsom's chief of staff, the Kathy Hochul staff member. We built cases against the New Orleans mayor and others. There was an entire police department in one case we had to build a case on, these public corruption files. We were immediately accused, despite these cases in building the probable cause the right way based on hard evidence, we were accused of politicizing the place. This is the counter-irritation principle. Look, I just pulled this random article out. What is this, the Milwaukee Independent or whatever? How Kash Patel weaponized the FBI into a political tool for Trump's retribution against critics. We actually had to go and build cases the right way. And this is the counter-irritation principle. This is exactly what these people do. You see it over and over again, and the liberal goon media provides the gaslighting air cover they need, and that's why these people continue to do this, because they absolutely know they will never, ever be called out. So I'm going to get to this in a second, but here's what I mean by 2028. They're trying to establish now the moral high ground as well for their candidates, that they are on the right moral arc of history. And they're the good guys. They're the beatified white knights in this whole thing. They are totally full of shit. They started this, and they're just pissed off that we're ending it. That's it. Here's what I mean. Obama, and I'll play this in a second, but Obama over there in a podcast interview he had done is insisting like, oh, the Democrats are really the good guys here. We have the moral high ground. We're trying to help people. Tolerance, coexist, and all that bullshit. This has to stop. Don't fall for counter-irritation. This is the real Democrat Party. Here's just a brief supercut. We'll play some of it, of Democrats and the real language they've used. It's already there. You can see it. It's on tape and digital bits. This is how they refer to you. Don't tell me they're the good guys. Check this out.
Suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler. I wouldn't say
I don't
that.
think any Democrat has. I actually...
All those images of masked men, the secret police, something familiar in Germany, and 700 active duty Marines sent not overseas, but to the second largest city in the United States of America, militarizing the streets of my city. Masked men.
And this rogue Department of Justice going out to do the bidding of this Timu Hitler. I don't even know what to call him. I've called him so many things, but this wannabe Hitler for sure.
Trump actually reenacting the Madison Square Garden rally in 1939 that neo-Nazis, fascists in America.
Y'all got the white supremacists galore, okay? Like all of them. You got the Proud Boys, you got the neo-Nazis. This is who aligns with that. So like inherently in like who you are, y'all are violent. Like right. Y'all, and most of your violence has to do with people that's got a little bit of melanin.
The Save America Act is yet another Republican attempt to intimidate and suppress the votes of anyone who threatens their extremist white supremacist agenda.
Talks about the blood of America.
This thing goes on all day. I asked these guys to put it together. It could have been 10 minutes long. This is the counter-irritation principle again. Call Republicans Nazis and fascists, set up this moral divide where you're on the right moral arc of history, put them on the other side of said arc, and then ignore completely and distract people away from the rhetoric you've used in the past repeatedly. Here's a segment I was talking about with Obama, prepping the battlefield already for both the midterms in 2028. They always make this faux moral argument. It is time for us to call bullshit on it and expose it at every turn. And we have the media channels now to do it with the fragmentation of the media environment away from the big three networks anymore, where we have the voice now. We're in control. We're the media now. Here's Obama trying to claim the moral high ground on this, despite what I just showed you. Check this out.
The other side does the mean, angry,
demagoguery,
exclusive, us, them, divisive politics. That's their home court.
Yeah.
Our court is coming together. Our court is, look, a great example. Wasn't political. Bad Bunny's halftime show.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
Well, it resonated. It was smart because it wasn't preaching. It was showing. It was demonstrating and displaying. This is what a community is.
I'm not even going to get into the Sad Bunny and the dopey halftime show. It wasn't even in English. Even if what Obama is saying is accurate, that it wasn't divisive, nobody heard it anyway. The native language in the United States is English. Listen, this is important where I'm going with this. Why are we talking about 2028 and the moral high ground and all of this other stuff? Folks, the last year of my life, really just, changed me. I mean, really changed me. I mean, we all change every day. Every day you learn something new, even small things. But government's always scared me, always. It should scare you too. Federalist 51, right? If men were angels, and we're not. Government scares me. I'm going to repeat this from now until I go 6 feet deep, hopefully no time soon. I'm okay. I should never say that because then people ask me, I'm okay. But I am going to repeat this, forever. There is no fix to government. There's only fixing it. Government is only people, folks. people can override process. People ask me over and over again. I've covered it on the show probably 5 or 6 times just in the 3 weeks we've been back. Do you feel like, the FBI is fixed? Nothing's ever fixed. You can fix things, which we have, and institute guardrails and processes, which we did. A lot of them, some public, some not. Nothing is fixed. The price of a healthy constitutional republic, ladies and gentlemen, is eternal vigilance, not temporary vigilance, eternal vigilance. Every single day, things can change for the better or for the worse. Well, that's pretty simple to understand. No, what I'm getting at is I hope we don't lose the midterm elections, and I hope we don't lose the presidency in 2028. But if we do, breaking those processes and moving back to a weaponized government, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to create a new agency out of it. More agencies and more. It doesn't work that way. Bad people do bad things. What does it have to do with 2028? The people running now on the Democrat side are a dangerous combination of stupidity and hunger for all the wrong things. Government scares me. Government led by stupid, smart people terrifies me. For those who are new to the show, the most dangerous people in the world, bar none, are stupid, smart people. Stupid people are no problem. They typically know the limits of their own knowledge and they stay in their lane. Smart people are smart because, again, they know the limits of their own knowledge and stay in their own lane. They're ironically, both of those groups are not dangerous to you because they know the limits of their own knowledge. What's a smart person? A neurosurgeon who doesn't try to change your oil. He's super smart. He's a neurosurgeon. He's going to destroy your car. He's never changed oil in his life. Doesn't matter if he's a freaking neurosurgeon. A stupid smart person is a very smart neurosurgeon type or PhD who does not know the limits of his own knowledge. That's an Obama and others. He's not dumb, but he talks about things completely out of his space as if he's some kind of authority figure on it, and then he lies and manipulates people. That is Newsom. And that's AOC, although I can't really call her a stupid smart, but she's kind of like a stupid, just trying to be smart person, but equally dangerous. Newsom and AOC should scare you. They are this unbelievably horrible witch's brew combination of arrogance and stupidity that is really, really extremely dangerous for your civil liberties. Here's Newsom. This is what I'm talking about. This guy will say anything to anyone at any time to aggregate, accumulate, and weaponize power. Anything. Here's a cut of Newsom saying two completely diametrically opposed things, trying to make the opposite point because he thinks the point works for him depending on which way the political winds are blowing. The first part of this clip, he's telling you how Trump isn't going anywhere. The guy's like a king. He's not going to leave. Fascism, whatever, all this other shit. And then in the second clip, he's making the case that, hey, man, you can always rely on California. Don't worry, Trump's just temporary. He's going away really soon. Well, which is it, man? Which is it? The answer is whatever thing he can say as a stupid, smart person to accumulate, aggregate power and get people into his tent. Watch this yourself.
You will lose your country. Again, it's not about Democrats. It's about all of us.
So you're absolutely convinced he's...
I'm absolutely convinced.
2028.
You've seen it. He's tried to steal the last election. He's trying to rig it in plain sight. I hope, if there's nothing else I can communicate today, Donald Trump is temporary. He'll be gone in 3 years. California is a stable and reliable partner in this space. And it's important for folks to understand the temporary nature of this current administration in relationship to the issue of climate change and climate policy.
So which one is it? The answer is it's neither for him. He doesn't have it. Asking him which one is it as if he's guided by some lodestar political principle is an insane question. He's arrogant and stupid. The worst part, he doesn't even realize he made different arguments because he doesn't have any principles. The principle is, how do I appeal to an audience here to get them on my team, despite the fact I have no guiding principles? This is dangerous, folks. I told you in the beginning of the show, I'll address it with John Solomon again later. The threat environment now to the United States is very, very real. Very real. It is in the present. The present. I said prescient earlier. I meant present. I'm sorry. Present, right now. It's not going anywhere. When you weaponize these tools with people like this who have no guiding principles, do you get where I'm going with this? Forget about privacy. You can throw in the dumpster and light it on fire. Forget about your money. I want to show you this clip of AOC. She gets into it with this Argentinian politician who has to correct her stupidity here on a wealth tax. Why, again, is this dangerous? A wealth tax, folks, the government in the future, when everything is going to be digital, okay? Even if there is no, and hopefully there isn't, some digital national currency, it is impossible right now to live your life on a cash-only basis. I mean, on a subsistence way, yes, you can survive and, buy an Egg McMuffin in the morning with cash. Even then, the purchase is probably tracked somewhere through an inventory control system and video cameras. However, you're not going to be able to live a normal middle-class life on a cash economy anymore. You're not. Everything is tracked somewhere, some way, somehow. As we go forward with the aggregation of these intelligence tools, the government has the power right now, and it's going to get even more powerful and magnified in the future to watch every single thing you do. Why does that matter? Because when your stupid, smart people, the Democrats, notably people like AOC, goes there and says, hey, you know what? We need a wealth tax. I want you to understand what a wealth tax is. It is a tax on assets you have that you have not cashed out. I'll make it really simple. I have a Mickey Mantle baseball card my mom bought for me when I was, 16. The card was probably $100 back then. I think it's not a really valuable one, but I think it's worth like 1,000 now. So 10x. Factor out inflation, it's maybe 7x, right? Who knows? Imagine getting a bill from the government for the capital gain on that tax of, say, $900, but you haven't sold the card. Imagine that bill coming for your house, even though you haven't sold your house. Some piece of art someone gave you, a watch you inherited from your grandfather. I like watches. That's what a wealth tax is. But Dan, I don't have that money. I'm not liquid. These are just things that were given to me or I own. Yes, it's part of your wealth. They want to tax. They're already looking at it in California. People are fleeing. AOC and her stupid, smart people, crony zeros, want to implement this thing nationwide, a wealth tax. You doubt me? Don't listen to me. Listen to them.
So when you run for president, are you going to impose a wealth tax or a billionaire's tax?
I don't think that I don't think that anyone, and that we don't have to wait for any one president to impose a wealth tax. I think that it needs to be done expeditiously.
You have the recipe that many Latin American countries applied many times. That is some relief in the short term, but end up being, a tragedy for the future. It's like public expenditure, huge public expenditure, price control, sometimes wealth tax, and you end up the wealth goes away, and you have just the tax, and you don't have wealth anymore.
This is just math. You can't force people to pay a tax on assets they haven't liquidated because they don't have the money. So then what happens? In order to pay the tax bill on the whatever artwork you inherited or whatever it may be, freaking baseball cards, comic books, who the hell knows? You've got to sell it to pay the tax, which leads to everybody selling at the same time, which crashes stocks, crashes bonds, crashes any kind of equities, crashes every single asset you have. It's just not common sense. It's common sense to you and me, not to these idiots. 2028 is going to be a critical election because the people, at least the early speculation about AOC and Newsom, they are a dangerous combination of arrogance and stupidity that I'm telling you will be the downfall of this place. I'll show you in a minute how the media, by the way, runs cover on this in terms of the immigration argument. Just quick, Guy, put up that Bloomberg piece. Here's the media running cover for AOC's disastrous appearance over in Munich. Word salads. AOC tests her foreign policy waters at Munich conference. I want you to listen to this. Normally quick to respond, AOC was at a loss for words, saying this is, I think, blah, blah, word salad. But she recovered the cogent response. Sure she did. Meanwhile, if anyone else had said that, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, they'd be all over. It's such bullshit. They run absolute cover for these people all the time. I'll show you what I mean with this clip, Mazemore clip. It does a great account on X, Mazemoore. I highly recommend this, especially for those in the space. Great clips there. Got a hat tip. It's the right thing to do. People do a lot of hard work in the space, and they deserve it. Quick break, and I'm going to get back to that. Also, John Solomon coming up about Fulton County, Georgia. He's got some really eye-opening information on the FBI search warrant and the election integrity case down there. Important, hugely important. If we don't trust the process, the results don't matter, folks. You got to trust the process. And right now, people understandably, many do not. And I don't blame them. All Family Pharmacy, they're running a big President's Day sale with 47% off the medications everyone's asking about. Ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD, hydroxychloroquine, and those GLP-1 weight loss medications. And I'm telling you right now is a perfect time to stock up on what you need and have it at home. Be prepared. You don't want to be in an emergency knocking on some pharmacy window and, please, you got some stuff for me? That's why I use All Family Pharmacy. They're built for people who want to stay prepared and not get caught off guard when someone in the house gets sick or there's some big emergency. You don't have to beg your doctor for a prescription, sit in a waiting room, or deal with insurance nonsense. You simply complete the form online. A licensed doctor reviews it and provides the prescription, and your medication ships straight to your door. It's simple, straightforward, no coupons required. The sale ends today, Tuesday, February 17th. Once it's over, the prices go right back up. So go today. Get prepared. Don't be knocking on a pharmacy window in an emergency. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bongino. Grab the 47% off while it's still live. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Bongino. This is not medical advice. Consult a licensed healthcare professional before taking any prescription medication. Thank you, All Family Pharmacy. And American Financing. Look, it's 2026. Way too many of you are still getting crushed by high interest debt. We're talking 20, 24, even 28% interest every single month. It's a debt trap, and it's designed to keep you underwater. If you're a homeowner, it's time to call my friends at American Financing. You've been waiting for a sign to get your house in order? This is it. I trust these guys because they do things differently. They have salary-based mortgage consultants so you get the right loan for your needs. They're professionals helping you tap into your home's equity to pay off that high-interest debt. Get this, they're saving their customers an average of $800 a month. Following the drop in interest rates, financing is now available in the low fives. Think about what that does for your family's budget. Total game changer there. There are no upfront fees to see what you can save every month. And if you start today, you might even delay 2 mortgage payments. They've been with me a long time, so give them a call. The company's American Financing. The number is 888-994-7660. That's 888-994-7660, or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Bongino. That's AmericanFinancing.net/Bongino. Check them out. Thank you, American Financing. So, of course, as you know, the left-wing media, the Praetorian Guard of bullshit, they must run cover for these stupid smart people, these dangerous combination people of arrogance and stupidity, the AOC Newsom types. Because if they don't, and they're exposed for who they are, like when you put her in front of a camera, how to respond, you see the fairly obvious thing that these people don't know what the hell they're doing. California, the numbers are obvious. Just look at U-Hauls leaving California and going to the state of Texas. They're not going in the other direction from Texas to California. In some limited circles, ladies and gentlemen, that's called a clue. Watch how the media, now that immigration is constantly in the news, given that President Trump shut down the border. Shut down the border. We've had, again, for multiple months now, 0 illegal migrants admitted into the country. That is a staggering number. Any other president of any other party would be taking a massive victory lap, would be given a gold medal at the Winter Olympics, an honorary one. But because they can't give him credit, I want you to notice how they try to, now they're like, the separation. They're separating kids, this Trump administration. It's awful. They're actually rescuing kids. But here's how they covered the kids in cages back when Obama was in charge. Hat tip Mays Moore for this clip, finding this gem. Listen to the language and the framing. And I'm going to play a clip of Tom Homan actually saving the kids, many of which the Biden administration abandoned. Check this out.
Inside the walls of this facility along the Arizona-New Mexico border, at least 1,000 kids, some as young as elementary age. They huddle in foil blankets in a country not their own. Captured by Border Patrol agents, they came here illegally. It's the first public look from immigration officials on what might be the country's fastest growing immigration problem. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, nearly 25,000 unaccompanied minors crossed the Mexico border in 2013. So far in 2014, that number has almost doubled to nearly 47,000. Some may eventually be reunited with friends and family in the States, while others may be transferred to private shelters where they'll wait in a country ill-equipped to handle their needs as it comes to grip with a growing humanitarian crisis.
Notice how they portray it. Oh my gosh, we're coming to grips, and look, the administration's doing such wonderful things. You're saving all these. And then yet, when the president has to deal with a bunch of people who sent their kids over the border by themselves, this president's had to clean up the situation and rescue a lot of these kids. No one gives President Trump, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, or anyone else any credit at all. Matter of fact, they shit all over him at every opportunity. Here's Homan correcting the record yesterday. Media people, you're going to pick up this story? You're going to run with this outside of Fox News, which seems to be the only one ever covering it? The massive humanitarian effort to clean up the situation Spaghetti Brains Biden left for us, this mess at the border, millions of people in here leaving their kids at the border to walk across here, no parents, no guardians, some of them being abused. What about that? Check out Homan on this.
3,300 children. You know, the last administration, over 500,000 children smuggled in this country, released to unvetted sponsors. They lost track of 300,000 of them. President Trump has already found 145,000 of them. In Minnesota alone, over 3,300 missing children we found that the last administration wasn't even looking for.
They weren't even looking for him. Now, they sense they've got a problem in the midterms. The Democrats know this. Here's the problem, folks. You may be saying, this is a fair question in the audience out there. You may be saying, Dan, if the Democrats know they've got a problem on the border issue, to be clear, we talked about a number of things. They're bullshit on defund the police, the failed Obamacare. But focus right now just on this one. The open border policies of the Biden administration clearly have given them a political black eye. And a lot of Democrats know this is an issue, a significant issue they may never be able to get past. So why aren't they changing it? Why don't elected Democrats who want to get reelected, Senate races, House of Representatives races, they want to be the president, why not just say the obvious? Hey, guys, we can't have open borders. It didn't work. Biden screwed up. Because, folks, between social media, gerrymandering of districts, and big donor money and the left-wing, culture space, you don't want to get flamed out early trying to be a moderate. You want to appeal in the primaries to this base because that's where the money and the energy is. It's very simple. That's why you don't see a lot of them speaking out. Hillary Clinton, who I doubt's going to run again, but who the hell knows with her? Hillary Clinton, and I'm not, the woman's a train wreck, all right? Forget it. I'm just telling you, she's probably not running again and sees this as a problem. And she's trying with Obama to pull the Democrats away from this insanity because they realize there's going to be a huge black eye in the midterms in 2028. And none of the other ones have the balls to state the obvious that this open borders thing was a disaster. Check this out.
I think we need to call it for what it is.
Secretary
There is
Clinton.
a legitimate reason to have a debate about things like migration. It went too far. It's been disruptive and destabilizing. And it needs to be fixed in a humane way with secure borders that don't torture and kill people.
Folks, people are policy, man. People are policy, and the left-wing gravitational pull of insanity, whether it's a grotesque open anti-Semitism, open borders, defund the police, shitty Obamacare, whatever it is, the gravitational pull for you to not speak out against this stuff if you were a Democrat is strong. I'm telling you, these people are really super organized on social media or elsewhere. They are out there running openly now. Did you see this candidate up in New York, Aber Kawas? This is a candidate for state senate up in New York. I want you to listen to the way that she talks about what happened on 9/11, partitioning the blame away from the scumbag terrorists who did this. I will listen to this. This is where the Democrat Party is. Make no mistake. This is the kind of thing that even 10 years ago in the Democrat Party, people would be running away from, like, hey, she's not part of our brand. They love this stuff now. They embrace it. They're candidates. People love them. Probably raise a fortune trying to get this state Senate seat. This is probably the most infuriating clip of the show thus far. But check it out anyway. You need to see what's going on so we can fight back. Check this out.
The system of capitalism and racism and white supremacy, etc., have all, and Islamophobia have all been used, to colonize lands, right, to take resources from other people. And so this is like a long trajectory. And we're just seeing the manifestations of that continuation, right, with 9/11. And so a lot of times when people are asking us to respond about, attack, right, if you look back, like, historically, right, a lot of us come from lands that were colonized, lands where wars are being waged, right, a lot of times because of U.S. policy or the policies in Europe. And so I find that we can connect over that, but then also that the idea that we have to apologize for, like, a terror attack that, like, a couple of people did, and then there is no apologies or reparations for genocides and for slavery, etc., is something that I kind of find, like, reprehensible.
Folks, you understand, like, with the left, this is mainstream thought right now. This is the you deserve it crowd. Whether it's October 7th or 9/11, this is the you deserve it crowd. This is mainstream thinking on the left right now. This is not a fringe. People are policy. Is the government fixed? The government's never fixed. There's a fixing process. You elect bad people, they can unfix it real quick. We're at a really, really dangerous inflection point in our history where, again, these censorship tools, the technological tools, again, I'll address that with John Solomon coming up in a little bit, the trends over in Europe to squelch free speech. If Elon Musk and Chris at Rumble and Donald Trump hadn't fought back against censorship, ladies and gentlemen, we'd all be in the digital media gulag right now, all of us. But that can still happen. That fight isn't over. Basic principles are at risk. Basic civil liberties are at risk in every election right now. I don't care what you call me, folks, on the left. I see it all the time. These are Manichaean fights. They are. Every single election is the most important one. That is not hyperbole. That's not panic. It's the freaking truth, man. This stuff can switch like that. I'm going to do a compare and contrast, and you'll see what I mean here. How basic principles are at risk, and your basic civil liberties are at risk, because the left doesn't have any principles. Did you hear about what happened in Calvert County? Calvert County is a county in Maryland. In Southern Maryland, know it well. Ran for the U.S. Senate in Maryland. I lived there for a long time. This is one of those stories that's, again, almost hard to believe, except for the fact that it actually happened. Charlie Kirk, God rest his soul, his organization, Turning Point, now run by the great Erica Kirk, they're doing a great job trying to keep the organization going. They wanted to start a chapter in a school or do some kind of presentation in a school in Calvert County, which is, what's the problem? No big deal. I want you to listen to this school official down there at this meeting saying how they should call Child Protective Services on this group because there's not going to be any parental supervision or what it may be. Folks, this is who they are. You don't have to ask them who they are. They tell you. But watch this. And then the next video I'm going to play is a teachers union in Florida telling a bunch of kids to walk out of school, which could be a really dangerous situation, and not caring about any of this child protective services stuff. So which one is it? Check this out.
Students are widely recognized as vulnerable population. They are in critical developmental stages and especially susceptible to influence. For this reason, safeguarding measures, parental involvement, and transparency are essential. All Board of Education members in this room are mandated reporters under state law, as I am. Based on the circumstances surrounding this event, a report was made to Child Protective Services. All of this was provided along with.
Thank you for your comment.
Child Protective Services because Turning Point wants to do a presentation at a school? Are you certifiably insane? Do you need an intervention by a mental health professional? Call Child Protective Services. Man, this could be dangerous. Turning Point is school. Can't have that. But yet here's the left, Florida Teachers Union, which are dominated by lefties. They have this student up there advocating for a walkout of school, which, by the way, could be actually dangerous. You got to get some kid hit by a car or something like that. Advocating for a walkout of school. No concerns whatsoever about contacting Child Protective Services for this. It's almost as if these people are full of shit because they are. Watch this.
So when Florida students are confronted with videos of ICE raids, of families being torn apart, and of Americans being murdered for using their constitutional rights, they respond. They organize. They speak out. And they do what American students have always done in moments of injustice. They stand together and demand safety for their peers, their families, and themselves. And that response, while framed by some politicians as radical, is rather reasonable. It's rational. And in a moment like this, it is required.
Folks, I said at the beginning of the show, these people aren't just disingenuous. They are wrong on every issue of consequence in your life. They are just wrong. There's no my truth, your truth. There's only the truth. These power-hungry liberal lunatics are wrong on every single issue of your life. I wish I could just crack the ice on this and get through to people and ask them to think reasonably. They are wrong. Everything they told you was bullshit. Listen to their own words. Healthcare. Oh, Obamacare. We're going to cut costs with Obamacare. It's going to be so effective. Everyone's going to get healthcare. It didn't do any of that shit. Costs have exploded so bad they had to shut the government down to get more money. Defund the police. It'll make streets safer. It'll make people more comfortable with the police power. We'll all roast marshmallows together. Crime went up after the defund the police thing in these liberal cities. Nothing they tell you is true. The most dangerous one, and I'm going to get into this with Cash tomorrow, the most dangerous bullshit syrup of Ipecac they shoved down your throat was this war against law enforcement. Folks, people died, make no mistake, because liberal big city mayors, and even now, refuse to enforce the law. When you let violent criminals do violent stuff, no surprise, they do violent stuff and people die. And then you get these dumbass liberals whose safety and security is provided for by a lot of these law enforcement officers out there, putting their asses on the line to keep them safe. And you get these freaking Karens out there attacking cops. Did you see this video that went viral? There's this police officer. He's sitting in front of a school. And he must have just been at an accident scene. You could see him on his terminal in the RMP, the car. And you can see him processing the paperwork. And some lady comes up. What are you doing here? What are you doing? He's in front of a school. That's great. I know at the schools in my county, people clamor to get the police in front of the school. Some of them pay their own money to have police officers off duty stay in front of school. Why? Because they want their kids safe. These people have gone so crazy, the defund the police left, that have lied to you about everything and been wrong on every issue of consequence at a time that may cost you your life one day, that they attack police officers for sitting in front of a school doing paperwork. This is probably the craziest thing you may see this week. It's not over yet. From the Karen left. Check this out.
What am I doing here?
Why are you here?
I was just doing a collision report, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you guys going to be here much longer?
Until I'm done doing my job.
Because one of the teachers, when I dropped off over there, said y'all been circling since about 8.
Okay, well, I'm just doing my job, so the quicker I do
Your
my
job
job...
at the elementary school since about 8 a.m.?
I wasn't here.
There was a collision here at the elementary school?
You have a good day. I'm going to continue to do my
You
job.
work for us, and you're scaring these families.
Okay. Well,
You
I'm
should
gonna
probably
continue
go
to
do
my
your job where your job lives. Because I don't see that it needs to be right here all morning.
I'm going to explain something.
Mm-hmm.
The person that I was just working with
Mhm.
left approximately 5 minutes ago.
Mhm.
This was a collision report for them.
Mhm.
I'm doing my job.
Can
I
you-
gave them all their information.
Can you maybe, like for a second, acknowledge that you could be a really upsetting sight for people right now?
Look, ma'am, I'm just doing my job.
I
okay?
get it.
So-
I get it. But like for us to be able to collaborate with y'all at all going forward, you're going to have to show us some humanity. You're going to have to show us that you understand the circumstances.
What do I, Guy, you know what I'm laughing at right now? Usually a good, by the way, folks, Guy's going with a new hairstyle. Guy does this thing, he grows his hair out and like this big full beard, like he's like going into the Amazon for months. And then he shaves his face, his head, everything. He comes in like a different guy. You don't even recognize him anymore. He's now in the shaved head, no beard look again. Good for him, whatever. He doesn't know. You have got to see the chat. Go back, do me a favor, even if you're watching this on demand, read the comments right around this time. The chat is going absolutely wild on this moron. The lady, this poor police officer, this deputy, having to, and by the way, Mr. Deputy, I don't know your name. I didn't look at the badge thing. My eyesight isn't that great. Whoever you are, thank you for being a professional, having to deal with an absolute life loser like this Karen. Can you imagine going to work every day for, I don't know, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000? These guys aren't getting rich off this. You put some poor guy's in an accident, you're filling out the paperwork, you're in front of a school, which they should want, and some Karen goes, "What are you doing here? Why are you here?" Yeah, like, right. Did she post? I don't even, if she posted this, like proud of this, that is astonishing. That you're proud of this. Why are you here? You're scaring the kids. The kids are probably grateful. They're out saying, you know who's scaring the kids? Freaking Karen lady. You're scaring the kids. Count Karen. Oh. Anyway, I'm going to give it a... You're scaring the kids, Count Karen. The kids are probably wondering, why is this Karen lady bothering the nice deputy outside? What is wrong with you lunatics on the left? Are you okay? You need treatment? You need a cream for that or something? Folks, listen, I am absolutely 100% a civil libertarian with regards to law enforcement. They need oversight too. So did I when I was there. No human being should be given absolute power. We have civilian complaint review boards. We have inspections. We have internal affairs. Police officers are fallible too. But the assumption built in by the left that everything the police officers do is either scary or frightening or they're bad all the time is just as dangerous as the other assumption that we should just let everybody do what they want with no oversight. Why? Because they're dealing in decisions every single day that are life and death. Construction workers have to do it. It's a dangerous job. They got to pay attention all the time. You're a construction worker at a really dangerous site or an electrician. You make one wrong move, boom, you're dead. Police officers, that happens at every single interaction they have can break bad like that. And it does. Here, I'll show you. This was another video that was making its way around social yesterday. This is why I can't stand these Karens that just, sure, question police officers all you want. The guy was a total professional. You have to be an asshole about it and assume the guy's doing something wrong. Hey, can we help you? Oh, I'm just filling out the paper. Oh, thank you, deputy, officer, whatever. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. That's it. I want you to watch this interaction out of Bellevue Police Department. VO this for me, Guy. A voiceover. Watch what's going on here. Police officer responds to a scene.
Let's watch it from another perspective.
Watch what happens here. Look how quickly that breaks bad if you listen on Apple and Spotify. They respond to a scene. They don't. There's no indication it's going to be dangerous at all.
You can see Bangura standing over him with the knife right in the split second before the other officer shoots Bangura. Bellevue police raced to help the officers. Once they got him into custody, they recovered this knife.
Look how quickly that thing broke bad. Police officer gets out of the car within seconds. Guys, he talks to him for a little bit. And within seconds, he pounces on him with this knife. Look, this is how this whole thing starts. And he's stuck between himself and the car. And you got Karens. What are you doing here? You're scaring the kids. This poor guy shows up to work. Who knows? A couple hours later, he's got some guy trying to plunge a freaking steak knife into his chest. Maybe just give the guy the benefit of the doubt. And thank God for body cams, by the way, because now you see how quick, look at that. You see that knife? Thank you, Guy. Do you watch or listen on Apple and Spotify? Please just fast forward this point in the show. You don't have to watch the whole thing over, but watch this video. I'm not telling you that we don't need accountability. I'm just telling you that we don't have to go in there like Karen's all the time. Oh, shut up. Freaking loser. Thank you, that police officer, for taking care of business. All right, I got John Solomon coming up on the Fulton County, Georgia election case. Big news tomorrow. FBI Director Kash Patel will be a guest. We'll get into all the good stuff tomorrow, so please don't miss that show. Really appreciate it. I've got a couple more things I want to get to, and we've got a quick break, and then we go to John. So there you go. We've got a lot of show left for you. So, folks, I told you that they're not just disingenuous to defund the police, open borders left, that they're wrong. They've been categorically wrong on everything. And one of the things that's really gotten under my skin is this argument over the Democrats winning on healthcare. How the hell are they winning on healthcare? Everything they've told you about Obamacare is bullshit. But you're seeing it now in action. I'm on social media all day putting together material I think is relevant to you in your daily life. I see a story, I pick it out, I send it to the guys, and I try to put an angle on it that makes sense for everyone out there. I want you to watch this video that went around the internet yesterday and again went viral. A lot of viral videos out there these days with TikTok and all these other video platforms in Rumble and X. This is a video by a pharmacist who takes a short video of his pricing screen behind the counter. And he's talking about how they pay a certain amount for a drug and then what the insurance companies charge the customer. This thing went crazy because the disparity is so large. But when I'll just explain to you when this is over why this thing went viral, obviously. But second, there's a reason this happened. And this is what boggles my mind as to how the Democrats claim the high ground on health insurance and health care. Check this out.
Hey, come here. Tell me how this makes sense. We have a medication that costs $4 to dispense. You bill to the insurance, and they want to charge the patient $97.06.
Say that again?
We have a claim for a prescription that costs less than $4. The insurance wants to charge the patient $97.
So what are we going to do?
We're going to get yelled at by the patient. And they're going to blame us for their insurance, charging them that price, saying we made it that price. Love you, CVS.
That was all, what is that, a dose of reality on TikTok? A dose of real life, hat tip there. Folks, why is this happening? I'm not going to go into a big healthcare economic segment, but you know it. When you have this third-party payer problem and the government becomes the third-party payer, in other words, the government takes over the majority of healthcare, which about 35 to 40% plus of healthcare, the government's that third-party payer. When the government's paying, the patient's not really looking at the price often because the government's paying. That's the third party. The insurance company, by the way, or in some cases, the pharmaceutical provider, is not worried about raising the price because they know the customer's not paying anyway. He's not going to complain. You see this with insurance companies and the government. When you break down those barriers and you enable the customer to buy direct, like a lot of what President Trump is trying to do now with Trump RX and elsewhere, is it going to work? We're going to see over time is to try to break down the third-party payer problem so they can't cost shift around. It's turning into a huge problem. Cost shifting. Charge people with insurance who have a third-party pay who aren't going to be worried at the price more money than people who are paying direct, because the people who are paying direct care. We'll charge them $5, and whatever we lose on that, we'll just charge to someone else. This is not complicated economics. And by the way, some Republicans played into this too. Remember, when we tried to implement basic reforms to Obamacare, it was McCain, former Senator John McCain, who gave the thumbs down. Another issue I want to talk about with John Solomon before we get to him is the SAVE Act, because we're going to be talking about Fulton County, Georgia, and the massive election problems they had down there and the, quote, irregularities. This was a government case that passed a probable cause muster. A career agent, not a political appointee from the FBI, went up in front of a judge and swore that these facts were true, and a judge said, hey, you've got enough probable cause for this search warrant. That's a real problem. It's a real problem because if you don't have faith in the electoral process, the results, ladies and gentlemen, aren't going to matter. That's why the SAVE Act, National Voter ID, is so important, showing you how disingenuous these people are. Here's Chuck Schumer again in an interview. They are desperate to pull out this race card to try and stop the momentum. Bust this filibuster now and get this thing passed, or you're not going to have a republic left. Check this out.
About 83% of the American people, including majority Democrats, support voter ID laws.
Well, yeah, the voter ID laws that, first, each state can have its own voter ID laws, and some do and some don't. But secondly, what they are proposing in this so-called SAVE Act is like Jim Crow 2.0. They make it so hard to get any kind of voter ID that more than 20 million legitimate people, mainly poorer people and people of color, will not be able to vote under this law. We will not let it pass in the Senate. We are fighting it tooth and nail. It's an outrageous proposal that is, that shows the sort of political bias of the MAGA right. They don't want poor people to vote. They don't want people of color to vote because they often don't vote for them.
Now, here's Chuck Schumer, decades ago, talking about how ID and government benefits may not be the worst idea in the world. Again, these people are full of shit. I wish the supporters, their supporters on the Democrat side, would see. Vote for them if you want. Don't vote for them. It's a free republic. Vote for whoever you want. I'm just telling you, you're voting for bullshit artists. Just use their own words. Here he is taking the exact opposite position. Check this out.
Where people go, they're asked for a Social Security card. In fact, one way to prove you're a bona fide person who can have a job is to ask for a driver's license and a Social Security card. This is an anti-fraud amendment. Over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud.
Here's another 10, by the way, on the full of shit counter for the Democrats. The Democrats tell you, oh, we're the education party. We want your kids to get a better education. We just need more money. Okay. Do you know there's this federal program for tax credits? So here's how it works. If you're an individual or an operation that donates money for scholarships for kids for school choice, you can get a tax credit for it. And the federal government will assist in reimbursing the states with some money. There's no such thing as free money. We get that. But the money's coming from the federal government. So the states that, liberal states who think free money from the government is free, you'd think they would take it, correct? Liberals, I'm just saying, liberals, this is for you. Basically, the federal government is saying, we will just give, there's no strings attached. We will give you the money if you allow school choice in these scholarships. That's what the state doesn't have to do anything. All they have to do is take the money. So libs are probably like, yeah, we should take the money, right? No. Why? Because it involves school choice. And teachers' unions are in charge, not in fact, actual people who give a shit about your kids' education. Check out this Wall Street Journal article about this. Again, these people are full of it, man. Governors who refuse education dollars. Their virulent opposition, talking about the Democrats, is revealing. Extra resources are what educators say they want, right? So why do the unions oppose receiving them? It seems they so abhor the idea that a scholarship might help the parents choose which school their kid goes to that they're willing to reject support for students in their own members' classrooms. Ladies and gentlemen, vote for who you want. I'm just telling you, one side of the aisle is entirely full of shit. Give us more education dollars. Okay, here they are. No, not those. Not if the parents get to pick. You go to the schools we tell you because the unions give us money. thought it was about the kids. Take a quick break, and I'm going to get to John Solomon. But just last night, if you watched, I know I haven't been doing a lot on the Guthrie case because it's wall to wall, and there's true crime podcasts, and this is a political podcast, so a tragedy nonetheless. But last night, I did comment on the DNA process, and folks, it should have went to an FBI lab because what I said is true. The FBI has to take the submission from an accredited law enforcement lab in Arizona, which now the DNA has to be shipped back from Florida when it's done. It's just creating a ton of unnecessary delays. And nothing drives me crazier, by the way. I'll let you in on a little secret. When I do commentary that's accurate and some chucklehead comes on later and Fox has no idea what they're talking about, and I'm like, well, I disagree with it. I don't really give a shit if you disagree with it. You're just wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. It drives me nuts. That's why sometimes I hate commenting on these cases because that happens all the time. It's like everybody has to find something crazy to say. Ugh, frustrating. So Paula's like, better say something about it. The Presidente, Guy. She says you got to put it in the show. You got to put it in the show. All right, John Solomon coming up in just a minute. Listen, you've heard me talk about Delete Me in the past. I love what these guys do. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. I just told you about this new Apple update. This is everywhere, this spyware stuff. Trust me, your privacy is worth protecting. I know that. I've had a couple serious security situations here. Sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. This isn't just a one-time service. This invaluable service, Delete Me, is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. As someone with an active online presence, privacy is really important to me. I've had some problems here, again, with security situations. I've had to take some information off. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Delete Me. Now at a special discount for my listeners. Get 20% off. It's a big savings. Your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/Bongino. Use promo code Bongino, Bongino at checkout. The only way to get 20% off of this invaluable service is to go to joindeleteme.com/Bongino and enter code Bongino at checkout. Sign up today, folks. You don't want this stuff out there. The problem's only going to get worse. That's joindeleteme.com/Bongino, code Bongino. And welcoming to the show, a really good friend, tremendous journalist, been following his work and promoting his work on the show for years. JustTheNews.com, one of the places where you can just get the news and not a bunch of nonsense garbage like the mainstream media. My friend John Solomon. John, thanks for joining the show. Really appreciate it.
It's an honor to be with you. And let me just say this. I've covered the FBI for 35 years. It's my 35th year covering the FBI. The FBI of February 2026 is a vastly different agency than the one President Trump inherited in 2025. They don't go after Catholics at Latin Mass anymore. They go after terrorists with drones trying to penetrate our skies. They don't go after parents at school board meetings. They go after gangbangers and sex traffickers. And that market decline that has occurred in the last year in violent crime is a direct result of the work that certainly started with the president and that you and Cash achieved. I've covered this bureau for a long time, seen a lot of people promise stuff get done. You guys got stuff done, and you got it done faster, quicker, and more efficiently than any time I've seen in my 35 years covering that place. So bravo to you, and welcome back to the airwaves.
Oh, listen, that's a very nice compliment. I really appreciate it. Your reporting on everything that's going on has been incredible. And I think you just said it, it's great to take, personal victory laps, but that's not what happened here. The leadership of this president allowed us, you know him very well, John. He allowed us the leeway to do our jobs. Nothing we did there is rocket science. And nothing. I mean, what we did, we went and arrested violent criminals. We got out the bad actors who weaponized the place. And shockingly, you got people back focused on the mission. And then the mission, mission got done. I mean, it's not really that hard. So one of the cases I know you've been following intensely is this massive search warrant operation in Fulton County, Georgia, on the election process down there. I saw a couple of your articles at justthenews.com, and you had written about they noticed irregularities. Now, we never get out ahead of the story. We're not the left-wing media. You were very clear, and I agree. We don't know if it's going to change a vote count or not. This is about, right now, irregularities in the process, because the process as much as the result matters, because if you don't trust the process, you're not going to trust the result, even if it is accurate.
That's exactly right. Yeah, listen, that's what this is about. This is about restoring voter trust in a place that has had a 2-decade record of not being able to do the most basic vote counting, not being able to do it right, not be able to follow the normal procedures that are required by law. And what a lot of people forgot, but not the FBI, is that when you're an election official, if you knowingly and willfully don't follow the law, either because you're incompetent or you have some crooked scheme going on, you're going to be prosecuted for not administering the elections according to state law. And that's what this affidavit points out, that there are the statutes, section 152 of the federal code, that says if you take on the job of being an election administrator, you better darn follow the law. And if you don't follow the law, and it turns out it was willful and intentional, you're going to get cuff slapped on you and you're going to be charged with a felony. And what we learn in this affidavit, this is hysterical. If you read the New York Times the last couple of weeks, you'd swear that the FBI just went back in and looked at some old stuff and came up with nothing, but they decided to search anywhere. That is not what this agent did, or this team of agents led by the agent who writes the affidavit. He uses a very important word. The FBI has substantiated these regularities, and he puts them down on paper. 5 major irregularities that violate Georgia law or violate the federal requirements for election administration. And in most of them, the reason he's been able to substantiate it, this agent, is he got Fulton County to admit they did all those things. That is great gumshoe work. It's not some conspiracy theorist on some blog saying this. An FBI agent went in and got Fulton County to admit, yeah, we did that. We double counted ballots. We lost ballots. We didn't follow the proper procedures. That is a great tribute, first, to the agent who did the work. Secondly, it's how you get things fixed. The Fulton County has to be punished for bad behavior so that the next election, they do it right.
John, one of the things you pointed out, which I want to make sure the audience, tattoos on the brain there, is this was a career agent. It wasn't some politically appointed Jack Smith special prosecutor. Nope. It was a career agent whose credibility is on the line, who raised his right hand in front of a judge in a court of law and said, I solemnly attest that these facts I've put forth in this affidavit are accurate. He could be in a world of hurt, including his credibility being eviscerated and losing his job, but potentially jail time for knowingly lying, as we've seen in the past. And this passed the probable cause muster for a search warrant. This was not some random politically selected out of the ether case.
No, that's exactly right. And there's an amazing moment in the affidavit. He refers to witness 4. Witness 4 is the former elections director for Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State. And the FBI is the agents relaying to this guy who oversaw the election, knew that Fulton County had problems. He's like, hey, we didn't know some of this stuff. That's troubling to me. The people who supervise Fulton County at the state level were surprised by what this FBI agent was able to substantiate, what he was able to get Fulton County to admit. And I think that that is such an important part of a process. There probably will be some punishment. Some people probably played with the vote count to make things match in the recount because they were such a mess they couldn't get the vote tallies to match, or they probably faked it in some way. Whatever the case is, the real opportunity here for the American public, for the people of Fulton County and Atlanta City, is this is a moment of reckoning that will make their elections better if the process is allowed to play out. That agent is going to help the people of Atlanta trust their vote counts greater in the future because of the work he did, and he should be applauded.
And John, you would think, and this kind of segues nicely to my next question about the SAVE Act, but you would think this would be a bipartisan supported effort. If, as we indicated earlier, if people don't trust the process, it doesn't matter who wins, a Democrat, a Republican, a Libertarian, a Conservative, a Green Party. It makes no difference. If you don't trust the process, the end result and institutions entirely collapse. Getting to my next question, though, the SAVE Act. I know you've been following that as well at justthenews.com. The filibuster hurdle, it doesn't seem likely we're going to be able to bypass that. However, I've been strong on my opinions. I'm open to others. I don't get hostile when other people object. I think if there was ever a time to bust the filibuster or enact a speaking filibuster where you have to go to the floor, the SAVE Act, which would save our elections, institute voter ID and integrity measures, I think this is the time to do it because the Democrats are going to do it when they take hold, if, God forbid, but if they take hold of the Senate next time.
It's sort of funny to realize what a high threshold the Senate has become to common sense. The Clays and the Calhouns sat on their feet during the formative years of this country, and they debated until they dropped. Our founding fathers did it at the constitutional conventions in the formation of this country. All through World War II, we did it. Now we have a bunch of lazy senators who want to threaten the filibuster and not get off their feet and talk and really represent the people and stand for what they believe in. And all the American people are asking John Thune to do is to restore the Senate to the way it used to work before Mitch McConnell's lazy filibuster ideas kind of came into play. And I think that the American people are going to be there. Here's what I think is going to happen, Dan. And I think you probably know some of this because you had a foresight into some of the things that the Bureau now knows that was kept from the American public. I think Donald Trump is going to change the narrative in America. I think he's going to change some senators' minds, and he's going to do it by revealing some of the things that Chris Wray and that Chris Krebs and other major officials who were in charge of the integrity of our elections and who told us it was a perfect election in 2020. He's going to start revealing some of the intelligence that was kept from the American people. And we're going to see that our foreign adversaries have monkeyed with our system more than we knew, more than those driver's licenses coming into Chicago that you helped get all of us to understand about a few months ago. China sending fake driver's licenses to help Joe Biden in. There are going to be significant efforts by foreign powers, some friends, some enemies, that were trying to meddle in the system, and they got pretty far down that path. And I think when senators realized their state could have been targeted, when senators realized that the intention of the identities of some of the voters might have been assumed, I think there's going to be a different debate in America. And I think if the president takes the time to educate people and show them that maybe the stories we got from the last leadership weren't true, I think he's going to pick off the votes. And then the American people are going to put some pressure on John Thune, and they're going to surgically implant a stiff back, and he's going to change that filibuster for this particular thing, make it a standing filibuster, make the Democrats talk till they drop, and then we'll get a vote in the summer. But I think there's some big, significant, and very troubling revelations about the vulnerabilities of our elections that the president is about to unveil on the American public.
Well, you've got a good pipeline on that, so I have no reason to doubt your information at all. Speaking of which, while we're on the topic of national security, and election security is national security fundamentally, one of the things you've been writing about is the evolving technology threats. I've seen it just the news, many articles about everything from grid attacks to drones, the drone warfare, current environment, not the drone warfare future, John. You know, you saw Spiderweb with Ukraine and Russia. I mean, that was an incredibly sophisticated attack. This is not the threat of the future. It's the threat of the present. This president gets it. I think that's why his Don Roe doctrine that we better dominate this hemisphere because the threats aren't what they were in the 60s. But like I said, industrial control systems, electromagnetic pulse attacks, biohazards, AI-generated bioweapons, drones from the sky. You need a guy in charge who gets it and is not playing, little cutesy times, not pussyfooting around. And this president understands that. And one more thing, I don't mean to drone on, but no pun intended. However, the president, as you well know, every morning is reading a daily brief that the journalist class does not get. He understands the depth of the threat. And that's why some of the things he's doing don't seem to make a lot of sense to, I'm talking about the knuckleheads on the left, but make sense to guys like you and me who probably understand he's not just making this up.
No, the threats are more real than any time in our life. It's easier to be driving this down the street in America someday soon, and some bad guy will have a small drone that'll drop a small munition on you and you'll die in your car. That's really a reality. October 7th, 2023, which was the day of infamy in Israel when Hamas carried out that heinous crimes against humanity, the thousands that they killed in Israel, also was a wake-up call to our intelligence agencies because they saw in real time a Iranian proxy terrorist organization using drones as part of their attack. And then shortly after that, the Houthi rebels, who traditionally favored missiles and shooting at our ships and our troops, suddenly also went to drones. And it was a wake-up call that terrorists, much like the Ukrainian and Russian armies, which adapted their technologies to go to small mobile drones that can get through defense systems, that the terrorists were doing the same thing. But Joe Biden's team did nothing, despite all that evidence. The second Donald Trump came in, one of the very first things he did is he constituted a counter-drone task force inside the White House led by Seb Gorka. And then you and Cash got placed into the FBI, and you guys opened what I think will be the premier line of defense against drones. You're training all future federal law enforcement agencies how to counter drones, how to detect them, how to know what they're capable of doing so that you can solve and prevent terror attacks before they occur. This was something that was sitting right in front of the Biden administration. They turned a blind eye like they often had done. But very quickly, the Trump administration has put together really, I've talked to some foreign powers. I was with some European leaders yesterday. They are floored how quickly the United States has hardened its defenses. And if you take this with the Golden Dome, which will be our future missile shield, the completion of Ronald Reagan's Star Wars program, we will be far more safer in the next few years than Joe Biden would have ever put us on a path towards. That's a credit to President Trump, but also to all the people under him, like what you and Cash did. Most people didn't even know the FBI had created a counter-drone school. You guys got it done. You didn't go pat yourself on the back. You just got the job done. These are the things that change our security. And the drone threat was very real. It's now we're in a much better position to guard against it than we were just 13 months ago.
Yeah, your analysis of what happened is accurate. The president got in office, was like, executive order, drone school. Thankfully, Sebastian Gorka was a great teammate inside the White House. We got going. I remember going and talking to Dan Bishop when he was at OMB and the great Russ Vogt, just unbelievable guys over there. And we were like, hey, we need some money, drone school. And they were like, okay. And then, and then hat tip to my chief of staff, Fred Regan, who took it, took that and ran with it too. And in 3 months, I think that thing was up and running. We had a lot of cooperation from ATF too. But this president, that's just how he rolls. He's like, we got a problem? Fix it right now. I don't want to hear any bullshit, While we're on that topic, get her done is right. He should put that on a bumper sticker. I'm sure it's trademarked somewhere, but he can get around it. The Rubio speech over in Munich, I think, again, combined with the Vance speech from last year, I think perfectly illuminates this president's new national security posture with regards to foreign partners. The whole idea now is, listen, I get it. It's cute to talk about friends and all, but this isn't an episode of Cheers, Norm, when everybody comes in and is drinking at the table. This is, as you just said, it's a serious world with serious problems, with evolving existential threats evolving by the minute. This is no time for tea and crumpets. And I think Rubio and Vance both illuminated this new idea that, guys, we're willing partners. We have a seat at the table for you. But the price of admission is you got to up your spending for your own damn militaries, because we're not going to defend this little dinner table with the security all on our own now.
Yeah, no, you couldn't have summed it up better. And he also found, I think, the important lineage that Europe is running from right now. He said that we came from you, meaning America. We came from you. We were formed on the notion that we defend freedom. But in the last decade, your continent has turned its back on freedom. You have imposed restrictions on freedom on your own people. You're suffocating free speech. You're suffocating the freedoms that made Western civilization what was great. And we are not willing to walk from that. We are leading the way. We will fight for freedom. And your seat feels a little bit empty at the table right now, but it's always there for you. So come on back home. Stop letting freedom erode in your own country. Stop letting your borders erode, and stop letting your security go to hell. Stop letting the bad guys win a war that doesn't require firing a shot, and get in the game with us, because that's what makes our path of Western civilization so remarkable. We are the beacons of freedom. It was eloquent. It was the perfect, and you said it right. You have to look at the Vance and Rubio speeches as sort of a twofer over a 12-month period. Last year was the shame and kick in the ass sort of speech. Today was, this weekend was, hey, we kicked you in the ass. Now we want to give you a path back. Donald Trump always leaves a path open. That's what makes him such a great negotiator. Rubio gave that path, and I think he won some hearts in that thing. I heard a lot of people in Europe, and I was with Europeans last night, who felt like he made some inroads and woke some people up.
Yeah. Oh, it was just an amazing speech. I really appreciated the sentiments. You just brought up something. A couple more questions. I'll let you go. We're talking to John Solomon. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, he has justthenews.com. Fantastic website. Bookmark it. the Digital Services Act, which is kind of a wonky thing, you may be in the audience like, why would that concern me? It should, because it's Europe's entree into digital censorship. It basically does this whole hate speech thing. Well, the problem with hate speech, nobody wants that. Well, hate speech, that sounds horrible. Of course it's hate speech. You call that hate. The problem is who gets to classify what hate speech is. When you put a government in charge of what hate speech is, John, it conveniently becomes pro-MAGA voices who like Donald Trump. The DSA, Digital Services Act.
Yeah.
What, Arctic Frost? Yes, Arctic Frost, which, thankfully we uncovered and I walked over to the Senate myself and briefed the senators on it. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. This is the kind of entree into full-blown censorship in Europe that I think Vice President Vance last year, when he gave a similar speech, was warning against. Like, hey, guys, we're not going to tolerate this crap. If you want to be allies, then act like it on the freedom and liberty front.
Yeah, no, you have it exactly right. And we are 2 4-letter words away from censorship in America. They are Elon and Musk. If it weren't for him going in and just getting Twitter and moving it to X and creating a foothold in America, and then President Trump putting Truth right behind it, Truth Social, we would already be where England is. And a lot of people here probably don't know this, but if you're in Great Britain, you could be arrested for a thought crime. You could be sitting silent 100 yards from an abortion clinic, and some cop could say, I think you're praying for that abortion clinic, slap on the wrist. Or you can make a joke that somebody finds offensive. Many have made it in the last year, and they've ended up in handcuffs in Great Britain. Freedom of speech is nearly dead in Europe, in the western parts of Europe, particularly in the United Kingdom. And Americans are trying to put the shock paddles on Europe, saying, what are you guys doing? Wake up. Don't let this extraordinary freedom be eroded the way it is. We have to hold the line. The Digital Service Act of the European Union is a major backdoor for how the globalists, the one governments, the single thought leaders in the world want to impose their will by. We have to fight it with every bone in our body, with every fragment of our spirit. And the good news is that's what's happening. The Trump administration on every front, with Rubio at the State Department, the Justice Department, they are slapping back any effort to put a muzzle on the American people, like what Europe's doing. And they tried it here. That's what the Biden era was about. That's what the disinformation board was supposed to be about. We defeated it once. Our enemies went and they created a backdoor through European Union to come back and get us. Donald Trump's too coy and too keen on that. He's already figured it out. And we are going to push back. And I think the next big negotiations with the European Union will be cutting out major exclusions so that American tech companies don't become slave to censorship in the future.
John, I think when the history books are written on this, hopefully through clearer lenses, I think there are going to be 3 people who are going to be heralded as the free speech warriors against the anti-free speech totalitarians. I think it's going to be Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and I think Chris Pavlovsky from Rumble has a huge role in that too.
I agree.
I'm a friend of Chris's. I'm not in any way objective. He is. I'm not trying to be objective at all. I'm just telling you from personal experience, when foreign governments, when we were getting banned left and right on YouTube for COVID, for election stuff, whatever, and foreign governments went to him and said, take this stuff down or you're out. He said, I'm just pulling out of the whole country, and at his own business expense. And I think those 3, Elon, if Elon doesn't buy Twitter, forget it. We're done. We're cooked. I got to tell you, Donald Trump's electoral prowess, I think he wins anyway, but the margins might not have been, if it wasn't for Elon being able to tell the truth. Yeah, and if President Trump doesn't open the door in the war on political correctness, no one would be saying it anyway, so it wouldn't matter about the darn platforms. So those 3, I think history is really going to judge them very kindly. Last question for you, justthenews.com. Justthenews.com, we're talking to John Solomon. This outbreak of trans violence, another episode we had last night. Unfortunately, this is just happening all too often now. If this was a guy with a MAGA hat and it was one isolated, albeit always tragic episode, and a Democrat was in charge, it'd be a national crackdown. It'd be illegal to wear a red hat. We'd all be in a gulag. Yet we've now seen repeated episodes. We see Nashville, in Minneapolis. It's over and over.
Canada
we were
last
there.
week.
Just last week. We made sure to do an analytical product on this against a lot of people there who didn't want to do it at the FBI. We said, get it done or get the hell out. And we found some really, really bizarre patterns. This is a problem.
Yeah, in fact, I was just talking about this on Real America's Voice. The FBI's work in profiling and understanding why so many trans shooters have become activated to lethal in the last 2 years is so important. You have done all the work that our scientists at the NIH and others refused to do a long time because they were advocates. If someone wants to change their body to something it wasn't intended to be, there's clearly something wrong. And then to force that change by putting in large amounts of chemicals or very invasive surgeries, it creates potential psychological damage and psychological pressure that seems to be behind these acting out. You look at the father, he mows down his own family yesterday at this ice rink. I can't even imagine someone that gets to that level. But you look at his final social media post, and he's like, if you don't like the fact that I'm transgender, I'm going to take it out on you. That is a very serious, very scary trend. The trend lines are there. The data's there. There's some good signs that the medical community is backing away from imposing these treatments, these surgeries and drug treatments on young people. That's a good starting step. But we got to get a grip on those who are adults that potentially are ticking time bombs. Nobody wants someone to get to a point where they just mow down their family. And that's what happened yesterday. I do think the FBI's leadership on this is going to be a key part. They've been able to find the data, the narrative. The data doesn't lie. The narrative is there. Now we just got to put the solutions in place and get these people who are moving towards violence help before they take that final step of acting on that violence. And I think that's the prevention step that the FBI put in place with that analytical product that they did in the last year.
Yeah, it's important because if we're going to get our BAU and other behavioral analytics unit and others to analyze the problem, first you got to find out what the darn problem is. John, yeah. I really appreciate over the last year you giving us the chance, Cash and I, to explain ourselves. We weren't looking for anybody's pats on the back or anything. We're just looking for an honest story to be told, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and we appreciate it. A lot got done. There's a lot more work to be done. There's no reason for a celebration. Like I said, there's no heroes in D.C., but really appreciate you telling the story about the things that did happen, the drone school.
It was a hell of a story and still unfolding, so feel pretty lucky to get to tell it.
Thank you, John. John, your website's great, justthenews.com. Appreciate the time. Folks, that was John Solomon. Bookmark the website, justthenews.com. Good man right there. I really appreciate you all tuning in. I hope you're really enjoying these interviews. Got a special surprise for you tomorrow, as I said in the beginning of the show. FBI Director Kash Patel. I know a little bit about that. We'll have a lot to talk about. That's going to be great. Don't miss it tomorrow. Please go to rumble.com/Bongino. That's rumble.com/Bongino. It's really easy. Just click that subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And you'll get a notification when the show goes live every day at 10 a.m. Join us in the chat room. I try to interact as much as possible with the live chat during the show. You can watch it on demand at any time. Rumble.com/Bongino. Check out Vince at 8 a.m. as well. Vince Colonnese and Haley right after my show. Haley Carania. Rumble.com/Vince and rumble.com/Haley. 2 Y's in that. I will see you all back here tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Hey there, I'm Vince.
I'm Haley Carania.
Host of Vince.
Host of Scrolling with Haley.
You can always catch my show right here.
Right here on the Bongino Report channel.
Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, weekday mornings.
Noon weekdays. And if you miss it, no worries. The show will always be right here and anywhere you find a podcast. Thanks for watching.